Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to join you tonight. I apologize again for Olivia as she was unable to make it. But I'm honored to be here with you tonight at the North American Muslim Foundation's annual gala, so thank you very much. It's important to come together to celebrate our successes and our achievements. And tonight is about celebrating your volunteers who give day in and day out, time and time again, to ensure that they're working to build our community, to strengthen our community. So I want to commend you on all of your contributions you've made to our communities. Giving back to our community is extremely important, and as you mentioned, that's something that I learned really early on. I came to Canada when I was 5, and by the time I was 7, I started organizing in my community, and I started working to give back to this country because I came here because my mother brought me away from a war, and I feel blessed and privileged to be here in Canada. So from day one, I wanted to make sure that I did everything I could do to give back to this country. And I know that you here at the Muslim Foundation are doing everything you can to help build our community here in Canada, but also to help many, many communities around the world. So I thank you. The successes of our communities is really vital to our nation, and individual communities doing well will end up having the entire country doing well. But however, to achieve these successes, we need to actually speak out, and we need to fight. And we need to, those of us who are able to fight, and those of us who are able to speak out, need to be speaking out for those who are voiceless, for those who don't feel empowered enough to speak. And I know that that is what many of you here are doing. I hear stories of struggle in the community all the time, as a new MP, but also as a community activist for much of my life. I know I'm not very old, but as you mentioned, I'm actually the youngest member of Parliament in the province of Ontario. And thank you. I started in my community talking to my neighbors, and there's many, many, many stories of struggle I hear on a daily basis. Many different types of struggles that I witness my community, my neighbors going through. And it's struggle with employment or joblessness, struggle to ensure that their children are healthy, ensure that our parents and our elders in our community are taken care of and have a fulfilled life. It's struggles about ensuring that they're able to put food on our families' tables. My neighbors, my constituents, many of them work 2 or 3 part-time jobs to make ends meet. But in the end, it's that beautiful light that we get. And that light is the fact that the family unit is together, is the fact that there's support within the extended family and in community, and people work together to help build the community. I experienced that firsthand growing up, because our sponsorship to Canada actually got expedited a little bit because of the war, but also because my father, who was here already, had a workplace accident and was permanently disabled. And by the time we got here, my mother, who went from being a housewife, had to be the single breadwinner in our family. And if she wasn't working, then it was difficult for the family of 6. It was 4 children, and if my mom didn't have work, then it wasn't easy. And today when I go into my neighborhood and talk to families and they're in a similar situation, I can say, you know what, I know how that feels. And it's not a fun place to be. So that's why, my friends, we need to be fighting, working together and fighting for social justice. And that, the values of justice, equality, respect for one another, and that all in our community will be able to do well. Those are the values that made my family, made my father dream, made him have this big dream that we can escape a war-torn country and come to a better place and make a life for ourselves full of hope and optimism and a bright future for his children, a bright future for his generations to come, for our future. And those same values are the same values that I share with my caucus, the NDP caucus, with my colleagues, but especially are the same values that I share with my former leader, friend, and mentor, Jack Layton. This summer, this May, was a beautiful month. We made significant historic victories here in Canada. I am one of them. I worked very hard, but it was because the community, the entire community of Scarborough Rouge River came together. And that's why we were able to win. This was a constituency that had the same member of parliament for 23 years. And the community wanted change. They were starving for change. But house after house, when I knocked on their door and asked for their vote, they were saying, you know, I really like you. You seem like a really good person. You clearly are smart and are engaged in the community, already doing things in the community. But you're with the NDP. You're never going to win. That's what people told me. And they said, no matter who I vote for, it doesn't matter. My vote does not matter. That's what people told me. And they said, you know what, I stopped voting 5 years ago. I stopped voting 10 years ago, 7 years ago, because it doesn't matter what I say. And when hundreds of people are feeling that their voice doesn't matter, that means that we've gone wrong somewhere. That means that the system where the community speaks and chooses what they want, chooses our future, wasn't working too well. And so what I told these people was, when somebody told me, I don't vote anymore, I said, I need you to vote this time. You said you believe in me, I need you to vote. And if you and the 10 neighbors that I just spoke with, if all of you actually go and vote, then we can make change in Scarborough Rouge River. And what did we do? We increased the voter turnout in Scarborough Rouge River by 18% from the previous election. And we, together, more than 500 volunteers, together we made history. We elected the first woman to represent Scarborough Rouge River. We elected the first young person, first youth to represent Scarborough Rouge River. We elected the first racialized person to represent Scarborough Rouge River. And we elected the very first Member of Parliament in Canada from Tamil heritage. That was because the community believed that they could work for change and that their impact, one vote, would impact much, much greater and would work towards a greater communal success. That, my friends, is what I learned from Jack Layton. And what I've learned from my years of working in the community is that one person alone, every person's actions do mean something. And each and every single person can make a difference. But when all of these people who have the same belief come together, there's so much more we can do together, united and strong. There's so much more we can accomplish. And it goes back to that dream I was talking about that my father had. And the fact that dreams are allowed. Dreams are good. In Canada, we have a 5-day work week. Why is that? It's because a whole bunch of people many years ago dreamed that they wouldn't have to work 7 days a week anymore. And they fought for it. Hundreds of thousands of people in the labor movement fought for the 5-day work week, the 8-hour workday, the holidays we have, the maternity leave, whatever it may be. It was because somebody dreamed. Somebody had a small dream that they said, I wonder if we can do this. And then worked together, built momentum in the community and got support. That's how all of these great things that we have today were created, was because of a dream that sparked in somebody's mind. So my friends, go ahead, dream those big dreams, because if you don't dream those dreams, we won't be able to achieve the change that we want to see in our community. Jack taught me, and he taught us, he showed us that we can build a better Canada, a Canada that is inclusive of everyone, a Canada where nobody, no family, no child, where no community is left behind. And that, my friends, that is what I strive to do today. That, I know, is what you strive to do and you are doing as a community. From the stories I've heard, that is exactly what you are doing. Please continue to do that. And thank you to all of the volunteers who give your time. And as Canada and as Canadians, that is what we strive. And that is the belief that we as Canadians have, is that we stay true to Canadian values and ensure that we are working towards a Canada where no child goes without a meal, where no family goes without a home, and where atrocities like what's happening in the communities of many of our Aboriginal communities in Canada. The most recently exposed one is at Awapiskat. In Northern Ontario, there are communities of First Nations people and Aboriginal peoples living in substandard conditions, living in plywood shacks and tents in sub-zero winter conditions. Children are growing up in these houses. We know, we all know, every single one of us in this room know that it is possible. We can work towards, and we can have a Canada where nobody is left behind. That is my dream, my friends, today. That is my dream, my little dream, that we will work towards a Canada where nobody is left behind. And we can only achieve this if we work together. We can't be working communities in isolation. We need to be working together towards that one goal, where nobody is left behind in Canada. Together, we work and we fight for those without a voice, for those victimized and for those children who can't fight for themselves, and for those who face injustice and cannot fight for themselves. We fight for the poor, we fight for the disenfranchised in our communities so that they may have a better life. And by them, we also will have a better life, because I know that when my neighbor goes hungry, I can't have a feast next door and celebrate. I would want to make sure that my neighbor has food as well. And I know from the culture and the heritage that that is the foundation of how we believe. I'm going to leave you with a few words that are from, once again, my friend, our friend, and my mentor, Jack Layton. I'm inspired by the words he left for us in his letter. Some of you may have read it. Some of you may have heard of it. I'm only going to say the last few words in that letter. He said, "My friends, let's be loving, hopeful, and optimistic. And together, my friends, we can, and we will build a world that's better. We can build a Canada that's a better Canada." I thank you for inviting me and having me here again